Andrea Giles, and you're listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, episode number 50, Finding Safety in Your Body with Sariah Bastian. Hello, and welcome to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, where courageous women learn not only to heal from their spouse's betrayal, but to become the boldest, truest, most decisive, and confident versions of themselves ever. If you know there's more for you than the life you're currently living, but don't quite know how to get there, you are in the right place. Stick around to learn how to create a life that will knock your own socks off. Is it possible? It is, and I'm here to show you how. I'm your host, Andrea Giles. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hey everybody, I'm happy to be with you today. I have a special guest with me today for episode number 50. I wanted to bring somebody on who is a very special person to me because she helped me in my healing process and has a wealth of experience, a wealth of knowledge. And I wanted to bring her on today to share with you and to give you some of her wisdom and hope and comfort. And I'm just so thrilled to have her with me today. So today I have Sariah Bastian, and I am going to let Sariah introduce herself. I want her, she's going to share with you her story. She's going to share her experience that led her to where she is. She is a master yoga instructor. She works with lots and lots of women who have been through betrayal trauma and helps them heal through yoga and breath. So I'm going to turn it over to Sariah. Welcome, Sariah. Thank you for being here. And
thank you so much.
You are welcome. And I'd love for you to tell my listeners all about yourself. How did you land where you are today? Tell them about your journey.
All right. Well, I'm Sariah. My name is Sariah, and I am a professional yoga therapist. I have been teaching yoga since 2006. I have about, we're probably pushing 15,000 hours of teaching underneath my belt. So I just heard the other day, actually, that an expert, you can call yourself an expert if you have like 10,000 hours. And I was like, yeah. I don't have to worry about that, like imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I've got the hours.
I've got the hours. Check. It's amazing.
Thank you. It's my life's work and I love it. I'm 38. I have 6 children, including that includes 3 stepchildren, and I am on my 4th marriage, which is something that I used to experience a lot of shame over. Because when people would ask me what my last name was, I would be like, well, which one do you want? I can say to you now that I've been married 4 times, and I can accept that as my story, as I have been able to learn my programming and learn from my experiences and have been able to find and heal myself. And I'm healing. I'm not always healed because I still have day-to-day moments of coming back to myself. But in my lifetime, I come from a divorced family. My parents divorced when I was 5. My dad hasn't been in my life a lot. We lived in Utah. He lived in Nevada growing up. And so I got to see him once or twice a year. And he's dependent on narcotics for survival. And so right now he's in California. He's been homeless for the last 3 years. And I haven't seen him for about 4 years. I got married really young, right out of high school. And I had never been in a serious relationship prior to that. I didn't stay married to him for more than a year and was divorced and remarried within 3 months of the divorce date, to a man who fathers my children. I have my 2 oldest boys are almost 17 and 15. And I was married to him for 7 years and divorced him and remarried about 2 years later to a man who was unfaithful to me, who I was married to for, I think it was almost 3 years. Almost 3 years. And so my history, men, comes from an internal desire to be accepted. I sought for love and I sought for acceptance through men's approval in my life. And I had no idea what life was about. I had no idea that I had the opportunity to be present for life, even though I taught yoga for some of those years. Nothing registered in me until I felt like I was dying. I went from man to man, marriage to marriage, thinking that, I even remember Dr. Kevin Skinner, who I love, who I've worked under for years out of recovery, who's like, "Oh, your chooser's wrong." And I was like, "Yeah, that's what's wrong, is my chooser's wrong. I keep choosing the wrong men." But I had something to do with that because my beliefs about myself resulted in the men that I chose to be with in my life. So in my third marriage to the man who was unfaithful to me, I was going to say rudely awakened, but that's not the word. Gratefully awakened, but harshly awakened to my reality. My body was screaming at me in ways that I had never experienced and wasn't sure what to do with. And I felt as though I was going crazy. So when I tell my story, I preach this. I don't like to tell my details because I have my story and my ex-husband has his. But I will tell you my experience and the way that I held myself in that marriage. And in all my other marriages, actually, the thing is that I showed up as the same person in every marriage with the same belief system in every marriage. And so I had the same experience in every marriage.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I had a right to be in my marriage. I didn't know I had a right to be in the home that I was living in. I felt that I had to prove my worthiness on a daily basis by cleaning, by being there whenever he needed me to be there. I had to show my receipts to prove that I was using the money correctly. I felt as though I had to have the perfect body in order to be attractive enough for him. I let myself be cut open with surgery to get a boob job with the hopes that he would be attracted to me and wouldn't be unfaithful to me. I didn't sit in my feelings. I did not share my feelings. I numbed them. I hid them. I was stiff and rigid in my reactions to life. And I look at my pictures and I have the same smile in every picture. It's the open mouth, fake, things are fine picture back in that time. And it was not real. I had sex with my husband when I didn't feel emotionally close with him. I put myself and did things in situations that did not honor my sacredness at all. I questioned who I was as a person, and I allowed the vision of my husband to be the vision that I needed to be of myself. And I tried to prove myself through my actions and my behaviors, to prove to him that I was good enough to love, to prove to him that I was good enough to care for, to prove to him that I was of value or I was of worth. I loved from a place of expectation. I did things with a desire for something in return. And when I didn't receive that in return, I let that affect the way that I treated himself and that I treated other people. I wasn't breathing. Mm-hmm. I had no idea that I was breathing. I'm sure I was, but I'd never thought about the fact that when I breathed, it would bring up, I would cry. Whenever I would breathe, I would cry. And so I just stopped breathing. I used my voice, but I didn't hear myself. I didn't listen to the words I was saying, and I didn't listen to the communication that my body was telling me. And I let the craziness of gaslighting and the craziness of his opinion overrule the truth that my body was speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived in fear of everything. My body was robotic in the way that my daily life was lived. So I have to close my eyes, and it's kind of hard sometimes. I have to take myself back there to feel that again, so that I can share that. And I feel my heart pound, and my body gets a little jittery as I reintroduce those feelings or those thoughts to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But I have been able to, through my experience of this, my knowledge of yoga, and my desire to listen to my body, I have been able to find safety within the walls of my skin.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been able to shift the awareness and knowledge of myself to know that I am a sacred being. And now when I hold myself and present myself to the world, that's how I present myself as. Instead of trying to make myself fit in or prove that I fit in, I know that I have a right to be here. And I plant my feet on the ground and walk steadily in that direction over and over again.
So amazing and powerful. I want to go back to something you said. I want to know, at the point where you felt like you were going crazy, like I feel like a crazy person, what happened? What happened at that point?
I actually wrote an email about this just this morning. I remember I was so scared to get help.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I needed help. I knew something wasn't right. And he kept promising me that things were fine, that it was all in my head, that I was crazy, that I was making it up, that I was a very negative person, that I, brought this all on myself. And I remember one day I went to work, and I had talked myself into calling the therapy office that my friend had recommended to me. And the receptionist answered, and she was like, okay, well, we're going to get you in with one of our therapists for an assessment. And I said to her, so are you assessing if I'm crazy enough? Because I promise you I Please accept me. I was afraid that they weren't going to accept me because I wasn't crazy enough, even for that. And that crazy was, I learned that crazy was a way my body was telling me something was wrong.
Yeah.
But I went to a therapist, and I love my therapist, and she helped me so much talk about it. But I was looking to her for the answers that my body was already telling me.
Yeah.
And I can say that now, but I didn't know that then. And so the crazy, the fog, I just, it's scary. The crazy is the crazy of being wrong, but also I think the crazy of being right is what's crazy making, because you don't want your reality to be right. And that makes you even more crazy, because you want to change or fix or do anything to make the right or the truth of your situation be wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because then you have to look at it and go, what do I do with this? So there's that internal struggle of, you know that things are off, right? You know that things are off. You know that there's things that you need to pay attention to, and it's terrifying. Go ahead.
Crazy making. Yeah. The crazy of being right.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And I call that, please God, don't let this be truth.
Yes.
Because it's a harsh reality, but I teach, as I teach getting into your body, healing can only begin when truth is accepted. And you do have to accept the crazy of what your reality is truth.
Yep.
So I remember people have asked me this, like, when was it that you finally woke up to yourself? And I remember this one situation when I was standing with my back against the wall, and he's a big man, just tall, very strong. And he wouldn't ever touch me, but he would push me against the wall with his nose, my nose to his nose, and he would back me up against the wall. And something from inside of me said, Sariah, feel your feet on the ground. And I remember all of my energy going down to the texture of the carpet. And I wiggled my toes. And then something from deep within me said, look out of your eyes and see this. And I saw, like, oh, he's pushing me up against the wall. His nose is on my nose. This is reality. This is my crazy truth. And then something deep within me said, breathe. And I breathed, and I started using those tools. And that's the foundation of what I teach now. The very first thing I teach people, feel your earth.
Mm-hmm.
Soften your body and breathe, because where you are is exactly what's happening in your reality. And you cannot move on or move forward until you can accept the truth of your present moment. So it started there. And I continued to go to therapy, and I relied on my therapist to talk. It felt really good to speak all those deep truths that were in my body and the fears. But when it came to the crazy making, it slowly dissipated as I trusted myself. So that I believe that the crazy was there because I put more trust in him than myself. That's where the crazy began.
Yep.
And when I was able to put trust in myself and listen to my body and step into and rely on the truth that my body was telling me, then the fog dissipated and my reality was shown me in neon signs. And then I was able to make decisions to move and step out of that space with him and continue, oh my goodness, and continue to heal myself in lots of different areas and lots of different moments in my life. And I still get to, as I experience life now, I'm married and I have a new baby and I'm experiencing new things in my aware self. And I get to still practice all those things over and over again, to trust my body over and over again.
Oh, that's so amazing. Right before we recorded today, Sariah and I were catching up a little bit, and we both are, remarried to different people. Sariah, I worked with her when I was single, and I was dating my current husband and had a lot to work through, and I remember Sariah telling me to breathe. I did yoga with her, and then regularly went to yoga. And then I regularly went to, or not regularly, I went to a retreat, a several-day retreat where she did some concentrated, yoga practices and different things there. And I remember her telling me that I was not breathing, that I was just so tight. And Sariah, I'm wondering if you can explain what that means. Because of course we're breathing to stay alive. But when you talk about not breathing, I want you to tell my listeners how you teach that. What does that mean?
Yeah. So the program that I teach is called, that I've created is called Beyond Breath. And breath is life. And I believe and have read, I love when I read something that I've already come to accept as a truth for myself, that solidifies it. And I read something the other day that said there are two beings. There is the holder of the breath, and then there's the one who's being breathed. Mm-hmm. And for me, that gets into spirituality and my relationship with my higher power, as I believe that your breath has been granted to you through this life. And you are a spiritual being in a physical body and here on earth to have that experience. And you are supported through your breath. And so for me, my breath is a link to my higher power. Now, when we are in our physical body and we experience the pains and the traumas and the griefs that life, I believe, gives to us to remind us of our sacredness, it pushes us towards our refined sacred self. Our body hardens. We become stiff. We become very rigid. And it's almost as if we put on an external armor to protect ourselves from the external world. And what that does is that creates a shape of your body that will only allow for the space that's available within you to breathe, right? Does that make sense? You can kind of visualize that, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm clenching my fists and my feet, I'm squeezing my butt, I'm holding my stomach in, I'm rounding my upper back, and I'm clenching my jaw, and I breathe, I'm not fully accepting the breath or the life that's being given to me. So what I work with and how I help people move into themselves is to recognize that you are held, that gravity and the earth are actually a continued support of your physical form. And your only job is to be here. Your job through this life is to be present and to fully accept the life that's been given to you, life meaning breath. Whereas we decide unconsciously that we're going to take control over this situation, that we're going to protect ourselves from getting hurt again, that we're going to make sure that this never happens again, or whatever it is that our unconscious thinking is, our body moves rigid and rigid and rigid. And we live in that tightened, constricted space. And that is the shape of your body is the breath you breathe, and the breath you breathe is the life you live. So if you're in that tight, rigid spot, the only breath that's available is according to the shape of your body. And then that will be your life's experience over and over and over again.
You're just reminding me something that I talk about a lot with my listeners is about how most of us live in a very small space of emotion, that we have a very small little space of our comfort level. And because of that, we keep creating the same results for ourselves over and over again. Like you said before, picking the same kind of person, right? Only allowing, and it's positive things as well as negative things, right? It goes both ways. Many of my clients have a really hard time receiving. It's very hard for them to receive. It's both sides of the spectrum. So the way that you're explaining that, it lines up with that, to where when we drop into just experiencing life, like just experiencing right where we're at and not trying to get out of it, not trying to, change our own mind from a place of fear or what's going to happen if I actually sit in that, right? It can be a little bit scary, but that's where we live, right? That's where life happens, that's where we become present to this life that we have and that we get to create, we get to, when we can expand. And so I love thinking about just breath, the expansion of breath, like the body softening, making space and allowing space for emotion, right? For positive and negative, right? They're like things that feel good in your body and things that might feel a little heavier, but those are the things that help you heal, right? That help you to actually move forward.
Well, yes. So, I mean, for emotion, but also it makes room for internal power.
Yeah.
It makes room for love. It makes room for communication. It makes room for dreaming and creating. Like that's what we're closing off when we close off our body and we feel like we're not held and we're not supported. We have to put a trust in our body and rely on our body to tell us the truth. So I teach that, after you have a solid ground beneath you, you can move through emotions. I worked with the chakra system, and the first chakra is safety and security. Your environment, exactly where you are right now. And it helps you plant yourself here once again so that you can sit in your reality and heal from exactly where you are. And then second chakra is fluidity. It's emotion. It's the element is water. And feelings are information. That's it. Fluid. They're there to tell you something, to inform you of something. And then they leave. But if you experience a discomfort, and we are uncomfortable with discomfort, right? And so we try to hold on and stiffen our body. We clench our glutes. We become very stiff through our physical movements, which is a representation of our emotional body.
Yeah.
And if we can imagine a solid ground and a safety within the walls of our skin, and then from there experiencing emotion and feeling and knowing that this is telling me something right now, and I need to step into this and then act. The third chakra, the third programming is action and behavior. Your solar plexus is your power, your internal power to step into your sacredness. And so life then becomes fluid like your breath, where one moment you can experience joy, even in the midst of trauma.
Yeah.
The sun is still shining. The rain still falls. Rainbows still express themselves in the sky. Your children still laugh. Like love is still there. And you can experience that when you're there in that moment. And then when you're in those moments of trauma and chaos, you can feel that, because that's information that you're being given to you through the sacred of your body. And then you get to hold yourself as sacred and act and behave according to the senses that you're being fed in real time, not from your mind, not from your fears, from real time. And then you get to experience life, and then you get to step or move away from that chaos and that trauma and experience joy. And then you get to experience sadness and grief as life continues to unravel for you. You're there to, that's what life is about, is that experiencing it. And trusting that your body is there to hold you through the entire show.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. So one of the things that Sariah and I were talking about a little bit before recording today is how we're presented with new opportunities to heal different parts of us. And I was telling her how, and I've talked a little bit on my podcast about this, Sariah, but with I'm expecting, and it has just shown me some areas of growth. It's shown me some areas that I need to work through. And I often will have clients will make a lot of headway. They'll feel more like themselves, right? Like they're waking up. They're waking up and like seeing themselves again. And then something will happen, right? Like a circumstance or something that feels very triggering, and they'll feel discouraged. Like, I thought I was further along than I am. And I thought that I was doing better than I am. And it can be very discouraging. And so I want to ask you what you would say to that about, you touched on it briefly before, but I think that we have this idea that it's like a one and done, like, oh, check, I'm all better now, right? And in reality, we are, well, I'm going to turn it to you. I want to hear your thoughts on
that. I love this. So actually my logo for Back Pocket Yoga is a spiral or a widening circle. And I have that there because I teach that you are a never widening being. You are continually expanding, and you are never in the same place that you were before. And although what you might be experiencing in this present moment feels very familiar to what you've experienced in the past, you are not breathing the same breath that you were then. You are not the same person. You have new cells, you have new hair growth, you have new nails. You are a new person now. And you are not back in maybe the center of that spiral where you were. You are widened and you have expanded. And you get to use the tools in this moment that you have been learning, and you get to apply them to life, because that's what's going to be asked of you over and over and over again. When you wake up, that doesn't mean life is easy. That just means you get to continue to practice and widen and refine your sacredness. And I always say, holding yourself sacred is the hardest thing you will ever do.
Yeah.
And you're going to be asked to do that over and over and over again. But it is the most amazing experience to allow your widening circle to continue to expand in and towards that sacred being.
Mm-hmm. I feel like a couple thoughts. One, that, with infidelity, the biggest breach of trust is with ourselves, that mm-hmm. we stop trusting, that we, the words are, I don't trust him. He broke my trust. But what's really happening is this internal breach of trust.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest tragedy of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we learn to trust ourselves, I think too, it's the hardest work we'll ever do, mm-hmm. and the most important work we'll ever do.
Yeah.
The most important work. And it overrides so much of the programming of what women should be, what a good woman is, that many of us have carried with us our whole life, right? About being, taking care of the feelings of other people, mm-hmm. not being too much, right? Having to stay in these lines. And I think that I feel like infidelity is a perfect opportunity mm-hmm. to really look at all of it, to really expose ourselves and really see, maybe mm-hmm. for the first time ever, to really look at all the stories that have led to where we are. And it's this great opportunity to start unpacking those things and moving forward in a way that's true, right? Mm-hmm. True to us.
Yeah, I'd say this recovery is discovery.
Yeah.
And that's Beyond Breath teaches you how to understand the programming that we've all been set into. So we all are living in an archetype, if you will. We're all placed into a situation. Maybe you're the third oldest in your family, or maybe you were the youngest, or maybe you were the smart one, or maybe you were the comic relief, or whatever it was. And we end up playing roles that we haven't really necessarily signed up for in life.
For sure.
And so I really help through Beyond Breath. I help you understand and see the role that you're playing and decide, is that the role that is me, or is that something that I've been expected to play in my life? And as you do refine yourself, and you refine yourself and expand at the same time. I love that image. I'm very visual, and so I love the idea of refining and chiseling out who I am, and at the same time I expand and I create bigger shadows that God can walk in, because I know who I am and I can stand in that, and I invite people into that. And so it's a refining, and it's an expansion at the same time. And every moment of every day gives you the opportunity to refine yourself. And you're going to be presented with situations that you had no idea you were ever going to be presented with, right?
Yeah.
We can start with infidelity. We can start with, the loss of a loved one. We can start with even infertility. You can even say dealing with an ex-wife or an ex-spouse. You are going to be presented with so many different things in your life. And every moment, as you learn about you get to refine and expand you and that sacredness and who you are.
Yep. What do you think about the kind of a way that I have tried to articulate to my listeners is that, we when we start to have experiences, circumstances come that can feel like they're tripping us up, right? I like to think of them as a signal to myself that I am ready for deeper growth.
Mm-hmm.
And so it feels actually, even though I don't like it, right? Really, come on, right? I'm not cheering, yes, another thing to, work through. But in the end, I like framing it that way, that it's an opportunity for me to go deeper and to become more of who I am. Mm-hmm. That it means that I am growing, right? It means that I am ready for expanding that circle, like you talked about. I want to hear your take on that.
Yeah, the next level. Yeah. So tell me again, just ask the simple question, because I was kind of
Well,
listening to your explanation.
Sure. So my question for you is like, how do you frame, like when people, when your clients come to you and say, I feel triggered, I feel that or when they are presented with a new circumstance, something new. Okay. Let's say one of their children is really struggling or whatever. And it's opening up some things that they thought maybe they had worked through. How do you frame that?
Yeah. Okay. So I love, and I say a lot, when your body speaks, listen. It's a call to return to your sacred self. Mm. And I believe that your body is a resonating cavity for truth. And when something is happening, so say your child is struggling, for me, that goes two ways. They're expressing to me through their physical being that they're hurting or that something is going on. And then I get to practice listening to the call of my body and standing in that without. So, I mean, I can speak personally because teenagers are hard.
Yes. What an opportunity.
What an opportunity. Thank you. And it's hard because I feel like a lot of the growth that I've done, I've done that as in a relationship with my spouse, but I haven't practiced that with my children or with somebody else that I love deeply in the role of mother, and so I find a lot of my old programming coming up with my son, trying to prove to him that I'm a really great mom. Why does he feel this way? Mm-hmm. What did I do to make you feel this way? I'm uncomfortable with the way that you're feeling. And so I want to make you feel better. I find a lot of those old programmings coming up for my children. And it's hard. I wish I had the answer, really. And especially when I talk about my children, because if I did, maybe I wouldn't have the experiences that I do with mine. At the end of the day, even my stepchildren, I get to be reminded constantly that every being is a sacred being. As I learn about my sacredness, and I know that word kind of sounds deep, but the understanding of my value, nothing I do or don't do changes the value of who I am. I am whole. And if I can hold myself as whole, then I can see others as whole. And Andrea, I don't know if I'm answering your question correctly, but when I'm triggered, I get to practice holding myself sacred. Yeah. I get to continue to refine who I am, and I get to have the opportunity to see others and hold them as sacred as well. And at the end of the day, it is all about love. Mm-hmm. And as you talk about, like you said, your clients have a hard time receiving. For me, that's a closure of cells. That's a closure of heart. That's a pushing away of your breath, because your breath is something that you can be receiving from your higher power and is a gift of love and gives you the opportunity to love. And as you can see other people as sacred and you can hold them and your heart open with love, that will be the experience that you have in life. And it doesn't make it easy, but at the end of the day, for me, it all is a call to love. Mm-hmm. So I don't think I answered your question.
I could not agree more. Like, I really do believe that we are given opportunities all the time to practice again and again and again being who we actually are. Like, it's who we actually are. And we are just being reminded, like, opportunities to be with ourselves and to love ourselves. Now, a question I have for you, Sariah, is I have a lot of clients and listeners who have experienced some kind of breach of trust in their marriages. Many of them want to stay. Mm-hmm. And many of them, they can see their spouse's earnest efforts, right, to try to regain trust. And what I teach in that regard is that it's not on, my clients to, to have to go and kind of be the babysitter of things like that. It's on the person to become a trustworthy person, right? That's their work, to become a trustworthy, safe person. But something that I see a lot is such fear of, they know that there's a part of them that feels true, where they know that it's okay to step back in, but then that fear and tightness and, closing off can be very, very loud. Right. And so how do you recommend, for people who are wanting to be more present in their relationships and are finding it very difficult, how do you help people with that?
I love this because, as you said earlier, in betrayal, I believe that there are two sort of betrayals. One is, yes, the betrayal of our spouses in their breaking of the commitment that they did right in marriage, but also the betrayal of ourselves and the mistrust of ourselves. And I have a lot of single clients who are even looking to get into another relationship, and they come to me and they say, I don't think I can trust again. I just don't think I can trust again. And I love this because you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about them or trusting them. What you need to worry about is trusting yourself and staying present, because your body will tell you if there is safety. Then you get to step into safety and you get to let that truth be real. You get to let the truth of recovery be truth, because that's hard. And you get to let the truth of somebody loving you, you get to let them love you, right? So that acceptance of relying on your body to speak truth to you, and the trust that comes from that. I don't know if you've ever read, I think the book is called How to Not Fall in Love with a Jerk. Have you heard of that book before?
That's fascinating.
I think I just pulled it up, so I'm going to just pull it up really fast so that I can say the right name. It is How to Avoid Falling in Love with a Jerk.
Okay.
And it's in it, they have a relationship attachment model, and it's kind of like a radio dial. You get to know somebody, and the radio dial of the know is high or gets lifted. And then after getting to know you or to know somebody, then you start to trust them, and trust follows know. And then from trust follows rely. So you trust, and you rely. And then next you commit, right? So you have the stair step down from know to trust to rely to commit, and then in a relationship it's a physical touch. That's what should come after all of that. But I love this model in my own relationship with my own self, because that's what I feel like recovery is. It's a relationship that you have to build with yourself again, because you have betrayed yourself. And so it's stepping into getting to know yourself, getting to understand the language that your body is speaking to you. From that, you begin to trust your body again. And that's who you need to trust. When you step into your home again after being separated, when you step in and say, yes, I'm going to work on this marriage, and I'm not doing it with my eyes and my binoculars magnifying you and being able to trust you while you check these boxes that I set for you. No. It is, I will trust myself, and then I will rely on my body to speak truth to me constantly as I am here and present in this moment. And then I will commit to myself. I will commit to listening to it and honoring it and trusting myself over anybody else, because that's where the crazy steps in again. So if you want to step into your marriage in a new way, then you have to do things differently. And if you go back to trusting him over yourself, going back to our very first section of this conversation, right? Trusting yourself over somebody else keeps the crazy at bay. But if you are looking into stepping into your marriage and hoping that you can trust this other person again, then you're going to step back into crazy.
Yep.
The crazy is subdued. That's the word. When you can trust yourself. And it starts here.
Yeah, you put that perfectly. So true. And it becomes much less about the other person and their behavior and so much more about, being present to yourself and then making decisions from that place, right?
Right.
Not the other way
Moment by moment. And
Yeah.
that's what's so powerful about that is because, getting married again, I don't know if you experienced this, Andrea, but getting married again was so scary because I had to let somebody love me.
Yeah.
And when I've been loved in the past, in quotes, loved in the past, they've taken their love away. And so if I'm getting married, expecting this person to love me, and that's why I'm marrying them, then I'm setting up a high expectation that I don't have any control over.
Yep.
But if I step into this marriage and I have myself and I love with an open heart and I honor my body moment by moment, my husband and I have had moments where I'm like, I don't feel emotionally safe around you right now. My body's stiff. I can't look at you in the eyes. I'm speaking and you're not listening to me. I'm not going to talk until you become a safe person for me to talk to. And moment by moment, I get to make decisions on whether or not I want to be close to my husband or whether or not I want to be away. And it's not from my fears. It's in the present moment. And I come back to my feet on the ground and I feel the texture of the carpet and I soften my body and I breathe. And I'm like, okay, this is my reality right now. And I'm not going to force anything different than this because this is my life at this moment. And I can trust myself.
So powerful. So powerful.
It is.
And that can lead out the very next step that we choose to take, right?
That is where the next step comes from.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So powerful. So something that I do with my clients, you don't know this, but I'm going to tell you now, I learned from you. And sometimes when clients get on the call and it's like their breathing is so, so stiff and I can see it. Like I can see where they're at. And rather than going into a discussion and talking, I take them through a breathing exercise right on the spot over Zoom. And I use some of the words that I learned from you. And one of the things that specifically that I remember when I worked with you is not just taking in breath, but expanding ourselves through breathing out. And I remember this description that you gave about like a wet rag that you're squeezing the water out of, like you are squeezing it. You're like using strength and muscle, like to really get that water out. And that's what we're doing with our lungs. And I love thinking about the space that we're creating when we do that. Right.
Yes. Yeah.
And so in the last little bit here, this is what I'm hoping for. So I want you we've got about 8 minutes or so. I want you to share with my listeners some exercises that they can do to breathe and to teach them some things on their own that they can do on their own. And then at the end of that, I want you to tell my listeners where they can find you.
Okay.
How they can find you to learn more. Okay. So go ahead, turning it over to you.
All right. You got it.
Thank you.
So thank you. Thank you very much. Breath is tricky when we're in trauma because you may have been told, when you're experiencing an anxiety attack to calm your breath. Count to 8 as you're breathing in and count to, 8 as you're breathing out. And I believe that can cause more anxiety because when you're not breathing and then you're told to breathe, like if I was breathing, I wouldn't be anxious, right? So breath is life. And I say this, breath is life. And if you don't know you're breathing, how much are you living? So the first thing that I would offer you, and Andrea, you can see me, I close my eyes a lot. I don't know if you've noticed this today while I'm talking to you. I really try to feel my body. And I believe that breath is an element of air, which is the element of your heart chakra. And so when I speak, the words that are coming out of my mouth, I'm very aware of, and they're coming from my heart. So I'm giving this to you from me, from my sacred self. I believe that the most important thing that you can start introducing into your life at this moment is to become aware of yourself. And for me, that's been 3 tools that I use, that I teach. Feel the earth beneath you, soften your body, and breathe. And what that means is, at any given moment, you are connected to a solid foundation, whether that be the floor of your home, even if you're on the 2nd floor, whether that be on a mountaintop or even in an airplane. There is something beneath you that you can let your body rest into. You are held, and you do not need to hold yourself up. The anatomical alignment for most of our physical structures is created in a way that our bones stack. The perpendicular line that our body makes to earth creates a perfect 90-degree angle, and you are held. And so feeling the solid foundation of the earth beneath you gives you the opportunity to find safety in your body and in this moment, because the safest place you will ever be is within the walls of your own skin. And after you feel the solid ground beneath you, you can allow your body to soften. You may not recognize that you're clenching your glutes or holding in your stomach or tightening your jaw. And just by recognizing these places of tightness, you trust that the earth is there and that you have yourself, and you can just give permission. It's not a force. Give permission to let go. For me, this visually creates space in between my cells and allows for more breath to be accepted and more life to be lived, and my life to be lived in this moment, whether that be a positive, happy, joyous moment, or whether that be a moment of, please God, don't let this be truth. But the more that you practice being with yourself in your daily life, you're cooking dinner, you're having a conversation with your girlfriends. Nobody needs to know that you're doing this at all. The more that you can check in with yourself there, the easier it will be to check in with yourself when you're in those moments of trauma and those moments of chaos. Your anxiety is a way your body's talking to you. That lack of breath is a way your body's communicating. And so just recognize that your breaths are shallow. Recognize that you're in your head. Don't try to control anything, because that's opposing forces, right? Soften and breathe and let the truth of your reality to be, and your breath will on its own naturally calm down. When you breathe, you might cry. Your heart is the love program, and the demon is grief, and we hold on to our griefs by not breathing because it hurts so much. Breath is cleansing. And when you begin to find a solid ground beneath you and trust that there's safety in your body begins to unravel, and you can soften, and your breath will cleanse you of your grief so that your breath can be even more accepted and you can experience even more love.
Just beautiful. And it's taking me back to when I worked with you. And I consider that for myself, it was like a sacred time each week when I would come and I cried, I'm pretty sure, every single time. Mm-hmm. Like when I would connect with myself, I remember just crying and letting myself feel. I just listening to you, just want to say you're just a very powerful, just a beautiful person. I hope all of you can hear the love that just oozes out of Sariah. Like you can't be around her and not feel it. She really loves people, cares about people, and has done the work to where she can do what she's doing. She's done the internal work to where she can be this light to so many people. So thank you for being you, for being
thank you.
Here. I want you to go ahead and tell people where they can find you.
Yeah. So I know the easiest place I always say is Instagram, but I know that during trauma, sometimes Instagram is not a fun place to be. If you are on Instagram, you can find me at Sariah.Bastian. And I don't know if you have links underneath your podcast. Yeah, so we can link that. Mm-hmm. But also you can just email me. I would really love to connect with people one-on-one and personally. My email is Sariah@backpocketyoga.com. But if you're not ready for that conversation yet, you can find a little bit more about me and my program at my website, backpocketyoga.com. Okay. So yeah, I'll tell you really fast. I know you have to go, but my company is called Back Pocket Yoga because as I began working with people, they would tell me, I just wish I could put you in my back pocket. And I was like flattered, but at the same time, like, I don't want to be in your back pocket. So my idea or my intention behind that is that everything that I teach you, you have with you in your back pocket. You always have the earth beneath you. You are always with your body and you are always breathing. So everything that I teach you, you have within yourself to create.
Amazing. So powerful. So powerful. Thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to hearing from my listeners. I know that they'll love you, that they'll love this episode. And yes, just thank you so much. It's very powerful.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
I feel honored that you asked me. So thank you.
You bet. I'm honored to have you on. All right. I will see you all next week. Thank you for listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast. If you would like to be kept in the know about upcoming free classes, new podcast episodes, and other ways of working with me, go subscribe to my weekly email. You can subscribe at AndreaGiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. Again, it's AndreaGiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. I will see you next time.